Right, I'm doing a spaghetti bolognese and I'm using the Remoska Tria. Now, what I think the advantages is that I'm using the Remoska Tria. It's got the standard lid and it's got the pressure lid. I tend to use the pressure lid more than use anything else. Now, that means you can do things faster, arguably, but I tend to regard it as something you keep the flavour in, and I use it very much. The cooking time is very much the same. So say an hour for 40 minutes to an hour for your spaghetti bolognese, or typically most meals that you cook. In there, I think basically everything is pressurized and the flavors are better. Now today, on the recipe that I'm giving online on the YouTube channel, that's for a pound of meat. Now I'm doing a little bit over a pound of meat because I've got a larger amount of meat. That's about 700 grams, and so I've made everything a little bit larger. Now I'll tell you what I've got here. I've got garlic, I've got onions. It's 2 onions in fact, but 1 onion is for the pound's enough. Now carrot, I always cut my carrot fairly small, like a bean size to a pea size. Beans will probably more like it today. And I've got over here mushrooms. Now again, to make things look pretty, I cut them in 3 lengthwise, each mushroom, so they all look the same. I've also got bisto. I've also got an oxo cube, and in the absence of big piles of tomatoes, I've got chopped Italian tomatoes from Sainsbury's. Now, this also the herbs. Now, Italian herbs. In the recipe, I've given the fresh herbs that you can put, which is, I can't remember all of them now, but it's pretty much a wide selection. Sage, marjoram, oregano, thyme. But of course, you need to have the seasons for all that. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start the frying in the Remoska, and then I'll record a bit more. Oh, the other thing I forgot was I've got that tomato puree and salt and pepper to taste. I've got to tell you though, for my recipe, I like a decent bit of black ground pepper. There's no reason why you should use a pestle and mortar if you wanted to make it nice, give those little bits of black pepper crunch. But I'm not bothering with that today. And sometimes you can add red wine to this too, but I'm not doing that today. Okay, so let me just show you my Remoska Tria. There it is, and the lid is this one. And I'd be interested to say if anybody tends to reduce their cooking time with using that lid on the site, on the Remoska Tria site. We'll see. Anyway, well, the onions get a little bit softer now. Carrots, of course, will cook when you come to cook them in. Alexa, stop. Technology, I forgot about it. Now, here's the mince, beef mince. I'm putting that in now. I'm going to brown that. I'd suggest putting it a little bit at a time. The reason is it doesn't cool down the oil quite so much. You put it all in. If you put it all in at once, you'll just start stewing the beef, which of course probably happen nowadays anyway. I mean, I don't know how much water there is in the chicken now, but it's very difficult to fry a chicken breast without 10 tons of water on it. Anyway, so that's it. It's a nice lean mince, this. Oh, incidentally, when you're buying beef mince, do try and buy the best you can afford. The cheaper stuff tends to have an awful taste to it, I find. But the lower cost supermarkets do very fine beef. In fact, I think some of the best steaks are sold in, I'll mention it, Aldi's. I should mention, if I mention Sainsbury's, Aldi's, to my knowledge, I've got no stocks or shares in any of these things. I don't know what I've got stocks and shares in, actually. I've got a IFA that does all that, but anyway, I don't think there's anything there. Certainly nothing in my knowledge. Right, now we've got the mince in there. Now I find at this stage, oh, there's something wrong with the electric. I find it's nice to use 2 wooden spatulas to do this. So there we go. Got to brown that. And then this recipe is so easy because really all the other ingredients go in next and then start cooking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to brown all this and then come back to you once it's done, which won't be long looking at it. There's the mince, lightly browned. And now I'm going to start putting the other ingredients in. Okay, I'm going to take tomato puree, 1 tablespoon in a pound. I got slightly more than that. So, in fact, this is nearly all gone now. So. I'll just squirt all of this out. So that's a tablespoon and a tiny bit more really. Yeah, that's that done. That's the tomato puree. Next I'm going to take the chopped tomatoes, which I'm going to put in. Now, chopped tomatoes, you need water. Now for a pound of mince you probably need about a cup of water. Obviously I might need a bit more than that, but what I've done is I poured the water in here. So I'll just get another cup, which is about the size of the can. That's it, and I'm not putting that in. So we've got that in there. Next, I'm going to take the, let's give this a stir, make it look a lot prettier then. Look at that. Look at that. That's already beautiful, look great. So now we're going to take the oxo cube, break that up. And then I'm going to take my experimental Bisto, which is not in the recipe, but I'm just doing it on here because I want to see whether it makes any huge difference to it. So 1 heaped tablespoon of a bit. Thing now is black pepper. Now black pepper I like, so I'd say 2 teaspoons worth. Right. Now we've got the herb de Provence, so that's a tablespoon in a pound, but we've got a bit more than that, so I'll chop it a bit more in. Right, if you have the fresh herbs, of course that'll all go in the bouquet. Now salt, what about salt? Well, I remember a well-known TV shelf saying, you know, you've got to season your food. I agree with that, and but of course we all know salt is not great for health. So, but it does make a difference. So I've got sea salt here, it's fine. I'm just going to put a teaspoon. That means that the diners can add a bit more if they want to, but there's a basic level of salt in there, and it's not a huge amount. It's not going to be too detrimental to health and the size of the pot, but I think it's worth thinking about that. Incidentally, if you were doing wine, you'd have to put that in, I think, with the carrots and onions, and then reduce it. And then I get it from the rest of the recipe. Now, the last thing is going to be the mushrooms, but I'm not going to put them in here now because in my view it's too early. If I put them in now they'll be minuscule and not even visible, I would think. Right, so now the next thing is put the lid on. Now I reckon I'm going to check this again in 30 minutes and just put this lid on. Now the lid, I've mentioned the lid, it's got these slots in it. Squeeze the button down either side, make sure they're in there. Right, cooking temperature, this little thing pops up, it should be about halfway up, so I understand. Oh, my long nails, by the way, because I play guitar, classical guitar, see, that's why I've got nails like a cross dresser there at the moment. Anyway, I hope that's politically not incorrect. Anyway, I don't mean any offence to people who like to cross-dress. Anyway, so there we are. I'm going to set. I'm using technology. I'm going to ask Alexa to tell me when it's 30 minutes. I reckon a 40-minute cook, and in the last 10 minutes, I'll put in the mushrooms. I think, depending on what it looks like then. So, I mean, the longer you cook this, the better it is, of course. Interesting to see what the viewers say, what you say about using the lid, whether people do reduce their time on it. I don't actually. I use the same time, but I just regard this as a lid of keeping the thing in. Oh, let me look at that. It's popped up. There we are. That's much higher. Now I find that I'll have to reduce it, otherwise it comes right up. So my cooking temperature on my electric cooker, which I don't really like, is 3. I prefer gas, but that's also not regarded as the way to go in terms of climate change. So we have to learn electricity. I know that once this gets up to temperature level 3, that will then come up. Anyway, there we are. For the time being, I'll come back to you in about half an hour. Well, it's been about half an hour. I can reduce some of that water, I think, as you'll see, because the mushrooms absorb quite a lot of liquid, don't they? So there's the mushrooms. It's not too bad actually. The ideal that those mushrooms worked in. Minutes, that'll be done, I reckon. Well, that sounds like an Australian accent then. Apologies to the Aussies. There you go. Oh, can't say that either, can you? To my Australian brethren. Anyway, Alexa, set. No, I do. Alexa, set alarm for 10 minutes.
10 minutes, starting now.
There we go, and I'll come back to you once that's done. I forgot to mention the mushrooms aren't in the recipe below either, because I've done the basic. But you know, spaghetti bowl's a bit like chili. You can use a certain amount of artistic license to how you do it. I mean, I'm doing this in the Remoskas. I'm a fan of the Remoska, and you know, if you keep putting your recipes on, it keeps the group alive. I thought I'd show you. There's the button about halfway up. That's about the ideal cooking temperature, really. Right. So it's cooked, and I've just done the heating off. And I'll just leave it on there to slowly cool down and continue just simmering a bit. And it's cooked. I'll give it a stir so you can see. There we go. It's all done. Spaghetti and spaghetti bolognese.